Welcome to Daily Variety, your daily dose of news and analysis for entertainment industry insiders. It's Monday, August 4th, 2025. I'm your host, Cynthia Littleton. I am co-editor-in-chief of Variety alongside Rubin Situda. I'm in LA, he's in New York, and Variety has reporters around the world covering the business of entertainment. In today's episode, we'll talk with Variety's Rebecca Rubin about the weekend box office. $4 billion, remember that number. And then I'll have a report on my journey this weekend into the heart of the intense fandom of K-pop. And to finish out, Variety TV critic Aramide Tinubu tells us why she's so high on Jason Momoa's Apple TV Plus drama series Chief of War. But before we get to that, here are a few headlines in just this morning that you need to know. The new model Paramount has set key management roles as Skydance prepares to take the keys to the studio on Thursday. Among the 8 senior executives set to work under CEO David Ellison and President Jeff Shell are Andy Gordon as Chief Strategy Officer and Chief Operating Officer, Jim Sterner as Head of HR, and Melissa Zuckerman as Chief Communications Officer. There's a big shakeup in Amazon's audio operations. There will be some consolidation between the Wondery and Audible brands. Wondery CEO Jen Sargent is exiting after 4 years at the helm. Rising star rapper Doechii is setting off on a 12-city tour produced by Live Nation. Her Live from the Swamp trek begins October 14th at the Aragon Ballroom in Chicago. R.I.P. to Lonnie Anderson. The WKRP and Cincinnati star died Sunday at age 79. The first mention of Lonnie Anderson in Variety came almost 50 years ago in the September 15th, 1975 edition of Daily Variety. She was listed low in the cast in a review of the season premiere of SWAT. Now we turn to conversations with Variety journalists about news and trends in show business. If it's Monday, we're talking box office with Rebecca Rubin, Variety's senior film and media reporter. She had another busy frame to cover. It was the second weekend of Marvel's The Fantastic Four: First Steps and 3 wide-release newcomers. Rebecca Rubin, thanks as ever for bringing us the box office report.
Thank you for having me.
So, weekend 2 was not as fantastic for the Fantastic Four: First Steps as the debut weekend. What happened?
So there is an adage for anyone who covers box office that knows it quite well. Executives love to tell you that opening weekend does not tell the whole story. And they're typically saying that when a movie does not have a big opening weekend, and they'll say, it's going to stick around. It's going to have really long legs. And that was the case with a movie like The Greatest Showman. Didn't have a great opening, stuck around forever, and ended up making a ton of money. But what's interesting here is this is sort of the opposite case of the opening weekend doesn't tell the whole story, because Fantastic Four: First Steps had a pretty strong $117 million debut. And so everybody was expecting, okay, this is a return to form for Marvel, so another really big opening weekend. And then instead it fell off a cliff in its second weekend. And there have definitely been Marvel movies that have had bigger second weekend drops. But what's sort of surprising about ticket sales falling about 66% here is that this movie had the benefit of positive reviews, great word of mouth. And so really what I think ended up happening is it just did not broaden out beyond the core audience of superhero fans.
So basically weekend 2, the demographic was still that core comic book young men.
Yeah, I think Disney was hoping that it was going to be a bit broader. It was going to play more toward families, and that just ended up not being the case. I don't think the tally for Fantastic Four is going to be anything on the level of disastrous. I think it's going to end with a decent tally, just nothing in the stratosphere like we're used to from Marvel. But the next 3 movies are all really heavy hitters. Next summer, they have Spider-Man 4. The last movie made $1 billion, and then they're following that up with Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. These should be more of the return to form that we're used to for Marvel.
There were 3 pretty big wide releases this weekend. Let's do lightning round and go through them. Bad Guys 2 from Universal and DreamWorks.
That movie opened to $22.8 million, which is about even with the first film that opened in 2022. I think this film will actually be a case of opening weekend not telling the whole story.
The Naked Gun, Paramount trying to revive the franchise with Liam Neeson.
This movie opened to $17 million, which was right in line with projections. It's a pretty promising start, not a home run out of the gate, just because it has a significant $42 million price tag. But since there are just no theatrical comedies anymore, I think getting to $17 million is pretty impressive.
The last one is from Neon, body horror drama Together.
So this movie opened on Wednesday. It got a bit of a head start on the weekend. And so the 5-day number was $10.8 million. And that's a pretty encouraging start for indie horror. I keep saying reviews and word of mouth, but that's really what is getting people off the couch. People want to feel like something is worth their money to go see. And word of mouth on this movie has been really strong out of Sundance, which is where it premiered. And it had a huge bidding war, which not that many movies out of Sundance this year were able to generate.
Rebecca, let me wrap by asking you, are there any other box office milestones that were achieved this weekend or anything that you're watching in terms of summer to date or year to date numbers?
So right now the box office is about 10% ahead of last year, and it's still 23% behind 2019, the last pre-pandemic year. And the box office has been hovering at those figures for basically all of summer, but analysts heading into summer were pretty optimistic that this was going to be only the second summer in post-COVID times to hit $4 billion. The first time it did that was the summer of Barbenheimer. And now that we're at early August, summer revenues just hit $3 billion. And so it's a bigger question mark than people were expecting of whether or not we will get to $4 billion. There are a few movies on the horizon. I think Freakier Friday and Weapons are two movies that could generate a little business in August, which tends to be a slower month, but it'll really depend on how some of these movies hold over the next few weeks if the box office is able to get to that benchmark.
So interesting. Rebecca, as always, thank you for helping us do the counting.
Thank you.
Now, listeners, as I promised last week, I bring you the sights and sounds of KCON. This is a 3-day event held at the Los Angeles Convention Center in downtown. It celebrates K-pop and a lot of other aspects of Korean culture. On Friday, Saturday, and most of Sunday, KCON was a fan fest with all manner of vendors, giveaways, promos, and merch. McDonald's was there with a French fry truck. Walmart hosted a photo booth installation. Here's a sense of what it's like inside.
저희 이번에 스위트 얼마 전에 나왔는데 많은 사랑과 관심 부탁드립니다. 저희 알리오케이 사랑해주세요.
Please support the album and send them love right now.
저희 멤버들 정말
In the evening, there are big, flashy K-pop concerts with a half dozen or more acts on the bill each night at Crypto.com Arena. The whole thing is run by CJE&M, a big South Korean conglomerate that operates studios, a streaming platform, movie theaters, and a lot more. In the US, they own the Fifth Season production distribution outfit. I didn't understand the first thing about K-pop and K-culture fandom until I walked around KCON for the first time a few years ago. It's an immersion into a new world of fandom that is more like a lifestyle than an affinity group for individual artists. In my job, I love talking to the hardcores at fan conventions. You learn so much about what they value in their entertainment experiences. I'll let a handful of KCON 2025 attendees explain what I mean. We'll start with Jennifer and Vanessa, friends from Long Beach. My first question is always, what made you come?
I came here honestly for the vibes. I love the Korean culture. I love the music. I love the dance. I'm mostly here for the dances. It's just something about KCON that is able to bring Korea to the United States, but that's not something you see here. So I look forward to KCON every year.
Now Jennifer demonstrates how much of a lifestyle embrace this really is for the biggest fans.
Well, for me, when I started learning Korean because of my love for like music or K-dramas and stuff, I really liked how disciplined Korean people are. Well, in terms of like taking care of themselves, I really want to take after that a little more in terms of like waking up, doing your skincare, eating good.
and just engaging with other people. I think that's what I really like about the Korean culture.
Next up, we hear from sisters Emily and Miranda, who came from Murrieta in Riverside County. These two noted that K-pop has been through several eras since they started listening about 8 years ago when they were in middle school. It was a certain boy band that caught their attention.
It was BTS back in 2017. It was during their Love Yourself, Her era, and Mic Drop. They did a collaboration with Steve Aoki, and that was really mainstream here in America. So they really made that transition, and that's when they got a lot of Americans starting to look at Korea for different music and stuff like that. So yeah, we went to our first concert with BTS in 2018.
Miranda reinforced that KCON is one of the best opportunities of the year to see new K-pop acts.
KCON here is so amazing because it's new groups. So if you come in knowing one group, you'll walk out knowing 7, 8, 9, and then you get to really get in a new group. So every year, it's a new group that you can get to know. So
I caught up with two friends from Sacramento who drove down to LA for KCON. Yona and Jamal told me they both work for a retirement home, and Jamal was quick to add that he is also a student. I asked them what platforms they use to listen to K-pop. These two and many others told me TikTok and YouTube, pretty much in that order. Here's Jamal.
I just started getting into K-pop a year or two ago, so that's when I first started listening to it actively and going to concerts and everything. So, based on what people recommend me, what they tell me, but TikTok as well, especially with the dance challenges that they have on there, people dance into the songs. You watch one of the dances, you're like, oh, the dance is cool, and then you start listening to the music in the background, and then you're like, oh, what's that song? Now I need to look it up, and then you go through this whole entire rabbit hole.
Both Jamal and Yona say they also watch the many Korean language dramas that are available on Netflix, Disney+, Amazon Prime Video, and more.
I do a little bit with my mom. She's a little bit of a hypocrite. Yeah. So she doesn't like the K-pop, but when it comes to the K-dramas, she loves them. So she'll come home from work, sit down on the couch, she'll watch it. And, I do the signature. I'll stand up doing dishes. I'll watch from the corner. I'm not trying to get fully immersed in it. But then before I know it, I find myself on the couch with my mom watching. So
surprisingly, my dad is actually getting into K-dramas a lot more. Whenever I walk into his room, he'll be watching it.
My thanks to all the K-Conners who stopped to talk to me this past weekend. K-pop and K-drama has truly become a content ecosystem, particularly in Los Angeles. On the first day of KCON, Variety and CJE&M hosted a casual industry mixer in the early evening before the first concert. We were thrilled by the turnout of folks from Hybe, Amazon Music, Dive Studios, CAA, WME, and many other managers and producers. This is truly a space to watch. Now we hear from Variety TV critic Aramide Tinubu. Aramide watches a whole lot of TV, and she really raved about this Apple TV Plus drama series starring Jason Momoa. It tells the story of the unification of the Hawaiian Islands in the 1700s. Aramide will tell us why she liked it so much after this clip from the trailer.
This is your home. This land will hold you long after I am gone.
Tell me of the outside world.
It is strange. The pale skin honors no gods of the land. They will be coming soon.
Aramide Tinubu, thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me, Cynthia.
I love reading all of our reviews because I get a sneak peek at what's coming up. Your review for the new Apple TV Plus series, Chief of War, really stood out to me. You really liked this series. What was it about Chief of War that spoke to you?
We've seen a lot of series similar to Chief of War. So we've seen, House of the Dragon. We've seen Game of Thrones. We've seen Shogun. But we've never seen the history of the colonialization and the unification of the Hawaiian Islands. That alone makes this very distinct. The setting is very specific. The language, the people, the culture, it's just very different. And that's why I really enjoyed it.
It's an incredibly complex history. And because of where Hawaii sits, it's crossroads of the world for a lot of people. You watch so much television, I would imagine that it takes quite a bit for a story to really grab you.
For sure. The creator of this show, I should state, is Jason Momoa. He created it with his partner. His name is Jason Pai Sabitz, and I hope that I'm pronouncing that correctly. But this is his culture. This is his history. It was a 10-year endeavor for both of them, and you can tell this is set in the 18th century in Hawaii. There's 4 different islands that are separate at this point in time before the unification. And you can see all of the history and the research and the details from the water droplets on the waves of the Pacific Ocean to the costuming that they wear. They're talking in Hawaiian for the majority of this 9-episode series. And I really respect the craft of it.
As always with period pieces, they make you reflect on the present day and how much has changed and how much has not. It sounds to me like you're saying that you can see the money on the screen.
Yes, absolutely. It's rumored to be several hundred millions of dollars for this show to be made. It's 1 season, 9 episodes. I don't believe it's been already renewed, but you could see everything that happens in this series. Again, it's not something where the creators are going to hold your hand as a viewer. You're going to have to do the work. And I really respect TV shows like that, because I feel like sometimes Hollywood thinks that, we're not that smart or we don't really care that much. If you're willing to stick this series out, it's going to pay off for you, but you're going to be pushed in somewhere you've never been before, and it's going to take you a minute to get your bearings. So I want viewers to remember that. So it's something where you're going to have to stick with it, and it'll pay off for you for sure.
We've seen Jason Momoa this summer in the Minecraft movie. We've seen him in action movies. We've seen him in Game of Thrones. We've seen him in comedies. What stands out to you about his performance for this project?
So not only is he directing episodes, writing, he is the star of the series. He plays a warrior, a Maui warrior named Kayana. And essentially, he doesn't want to be fighting. He's very good at his craft, but he doesn't want to be doing this. But he's sort of lured into these wars. And he's very stoic. He's not someone who is jovial, as we see Jason Momoa in real life. I think it's a really strong performance, and the amount of work that it probably took for him to be at the center of this story and being a creator and directing and writing it. He's wearing many hats, and he does it beautifully.
And he's been a busy guy with a whole lot of other things at the same time. My last question for you, Aramide, is this the kind of show that you as a viewer like to binge, or is this something you want to take, 1 hour or so at a time?
This is not a binge. I had to binge it because I had to get my review out, but I would not recommend binging it. Both episodes will be out the first week, but after that, they're coming one at a time. And I think that's what the viewers need. It is not something you want to watch in 9 hours, because you won't. It's a lot. It's a violent show. So that can be very heavy, but also it's going to take some work to get into the show. So you want to take your time.
Well, Aramide, it's a tough job, and we're glad you do it. Thank you for telling us about Chief of War.
Well, thank you.
As we close out today's episode, here are a few things we're watching for. Of course, we're on high alert for the Skydance Paramount closing on Thursday. We have Disney earnings on Wednesday. We'll probably hear more about the ESPN standalone launch. Variety will be extra busy this week. Our Power of Young Hollywood issue publishes Wednesday. We salute Tyla, Sam Nivola, and Finn Wolfhard as our stars to watch. This issue also includes our new leaders list of rising star executives and the ever-popular 10 assistants to watch. On Thursday, we'll have our Power of Young Hollywood event in Los Angeles to salute these fine folks. Meanwhile, overseas, on Wednesday, we'll publish the first of our 4 digital daily newsletters out of the Locarno Film Festival in Switzerland. On Friday, we'll be all over the Edinburgh International Film Festival in Scotland, and we'll put out another digital daily. Before we go, congrats to Anne-Marie McGinty. She's joined Dan Levy's Not a Real production company in the very real job as head of film and television. She had been VP of scripted programming at Ava DuVernay's Array Filmworks. Thanks for listening. This episode was written and reported by me, Cynthia Littleton, with contributions from Rebecca Rubin and Aramide Tinubu. It was edited by Aaron Greenwald. Sticks, Nicks, Hick Picks. Please leave us a review at the podcast platform of your choice, and don't forget to tune in tomorrow for another episode of Daily Variety.
Something that struck me funny is that the people who came out to see Naked Gun was almost entirely older white men. Opening weekend crowds were 62% male, 50% was over the age of 35, and then 70% were white. They did not capture a broad audience, but the older white men really turned out in force.